The Department of Justice is suing Gavin Newsom, governor of California.
What the DOJ is arguing here is that the plan that they put in through Prop 50 mandates racially gerrymandered congressional districts in violation of the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, as well as some Voting Rights Act issues as well. So they are saying that this plan in this redistricting map cannot be used in 2026 and beyond. They're seeking an injunction early as well, but they're going to have to fight this in court as it goes forward. Now, I think you should hear from Pam Bondi because this is Bite 9. She was on Sean Hannity's broadcast last night talking about this. They just filed this yesterday. It hasn't really made a ton of news yet, but this is what I know even our callers have been wondering. Can the federal government step in? Can there be a lawsuit? We knew that the Republican Party of California had already sued, but is there anything that the national government can do? Because they were blatant about what they were doing. They weren't saying, we think our districts have shifted so drastically, even though maybe they have because so many people are fleeing California, that we need to redistrict early. What they were saying is, no, we are doing this to fight Trump. We are going to redraw our map so we can have more power to fight the president and Republicans. So hear what Pam Bondi had to say last night, the Attorney General, on Sean Hannity's show, Bite 9.
They are flat out publicizing what they're trying to do and why they're trying to do it. They're trying to create seats based on race, and they can't do it. And we're going to hold them accountable just like any other state. I mean, they've very publicly said, Sean, what they're trying to do, and it's illegal gerrymandering. They cannot do it. So, yeah, we sued them today. We're going to continue suing California until they start complying with the laws of our country.
And when you look at also this problem, not just in California, but around the country, it makes you wonder if there's going to be, outcry on both sides about the way that these congressional districts are drawn.
Should you be saying, hey, if California is doing this, why shouldn't we? Of course, two wrongs don't make a right, but some of the response of this was also coming from some response from Republican states that were presenting similar options, like in Texas and some other places that were considering things like this.
There are already members of the Indiana legislature that are looking to do this.
Yeah, I don't know much about Indiana.
It has set off a firestorm, as you've said, where Texas redistrict, and they were saying that the entire purpose of their redistricting was saying that the census that took place counted too many non-citizens, because the way representation and how many seats in Congress you get are based off the population of your state, and then they allocate them that way. Texas was basically saying that because of the way that the census took place, that there were too many non-citizens that were counted in certain areas, and that messed up their maps in their previous allocation of congressional seats. So they were trying to correct what they saw was an improper allocation based off the previous census. So they were doing it early, and now different states have different laws about when you can and if you can do that. California had a law saying you cannot. Texas had different laws that were available to redraw the maps. But what did California do? What did Gavin Newsom do? They decided, okay, we don't like the law that we passed actually to try and protect independent districting, even though it's still very lopsided there in that state, as everyone knows. And what did they do? They said, we want to go around the independent commission. We want to do it our own way to combat Texas. Now, it has kind of set off a chain reaction of other states. Now, Indiana currently has a 7-2 Republican to Democrat map. So there is Democrat representation in what is a very red state. It's a very conservative state. The heartland, people don't think of Indiana as being their neighbor, Illinois, that is very blue.
It's very blue, but has very red pockets.
But
also,
what their new map would do is make it 9-0 Republican. So it has turned it from being supposed to be representative
politicizing everything
to everyone is going to be over gerrymandered into a way that is really
your state is going to be controlled.
To dig yourself out of that hole.
Your state will be controlled by a political party.
When Texas first talked about redistricting, my understanding is it was a fight about 14th, 15th Amendment, voters' right, all that, is you can't make zones according to race. So they said, and it used to be, so we're just going to break it up. Then California seemingly comes along and says, we're going to make it about race. Do I have that correct?
The map that was drawn by Texas after the last Senate census rather, and then adopted by their legislature, was challenged in court by people saying we think that these districts are illegal based off of the provisions that you mentioned, Peter. And it actually had a trial that it was going to fight over these districts in May of this year. So it's been a court battle that's lasted for a while, as well as Harmeet Dillon, who is the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice lead. She sent a letter. She's Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights to Texas saying there's 4 districts that the DOJ has concern may run afoul of the 14th Amendment as well as the Voting Rights Act because of race-based gerrymandering. So what did they do? They called for a mid-decade redistrict, and that's what the result is of this. Now, obviously, we know what happened with that. We know that the Democrats all fled the state. They tried to stop them from getting a quorum. Then they finally got it passed. California, Peter, it sounds like, according to the allegations by the DOJ, not only were they going to say, we're going to fight Texas by redistricting, but the methodology they used, indeed, is what so many people would criticize Texas for doing. They found districts and did it based off of racial voting blocks that would favor the Democrats, which is illegal. So that is what the DOJ is arguing.
When you talk about Gavin Newsom, you also got to talk about the work of the ACLJ, and we are out there fighting against Gavin Newsom right now.
It seems like Gavin Newsom is doing all sorts of fun things out in California right now, trying to correct messes or go further into messes as he continues. One thing that we are fighting directly is they are still trying to enforce.
Yeah, this is wild, everyone. It's not 2020 anymore. It's not 2021. It's not 2022. We are actually quickly approaching 2026. Like it or not, believe it or not, 6 years since 2020, when everything, the whole world got turned upside down with the COVID pandemic. But 6 years since the start, and you could easily say a good 4 years since really the end at this point, of like the major restrictions and the things that were going down happened. For California lasted about 1.5 years, 2 years that you had there. Of course, different states had different approaches. But they are still, Will, trying to collect on some debt. And that debt's coming from the church.
They are going after the tithes of the members of Calvary Chapel San Jose in the tune of $1.2 million for violating the edicts of Gavin Newsom and San Jose when it comes to COVID restrictions.
Yeah, whether it was gathering or mask rules or whatever it may be. And look, we understand at the time there was panic. Everyone's going, there should have been with a lot of real concern there. Lots of people lost everything, lost their lives. So we're not joking around about that. But the fact that we can't look at something 6 years later and go, you know what? We were all in a state of shock. We were all dealing with very different ways to deal with things. Maybe that church, we could, let them off a little bit. But instead, they're saying, no, pay up, give to your government, what is owed to them plus, and that is over $1 million.
And what is also crazy about this, too, is that the orders that they are alleging they didn't comply with were later found to be unconstitutional.
Right.
So they are still fighting. So much so we have to take this to the Supreme Court of the United States, and we'll be filing that brief very soon. Our lawyers are hard at work on this to defend this church, Calvary Chapel San Jose, because the governor of California and the city of San Jose want to take the tithes and offerings of the members of that church to the tune of $1.2 million. Think about your church. Yeah. If all of a sudden the government says, I know at a time when there's been SNAP benefit issues, and there's been housing crisis, that money that normally would go to the work of the church, God's work in the community, blessing your neighbors, that's ours now.